Alright guys, TouchGrubber here back again today, and in my opinion some more good news to discuss. It does seem like the CDL, the Call of Duty League, is really starting to ramp out some genuinely fantastic content for the upcoming season. There was a video that just went live, it just premiered on the Call of Duty YouTube account about, an hour ago from when I'm recording this video, a few hours ago from when you guys are watching this. Of course, I will leave it linked down below. A couple of fantastic nuggets of drama and rivalry that's in there. That's what we're going to be discussing in today's video, but it's really cool to see that the CDL is not only promoting these kind of rivalries, but also actively endorsing it by going to the Huntsmen in this case and saying, look, we want to film this series. It's called The Campaign. I'm not fully aware if the campaign is just for the Huntsmen or whether they're going to spread this through multiple teams, kind of what they've done in previous seasons. Hopefully they do, because of course now with the move from OpTic Gaming over to the Huntsmen, yes, the Huntsmen is the most popular team, but this kind of gives an opportunity for other teams to catch up in terms of fan base. Hopefully the CDL doesn't just go straight for the most popular team and promote them as much as possible. Hopefully we do get a little bit of movement around, which I think would be the best to the benefit of the CDL as well. So hopefully we see similar things to this for all the other teams, the Empire, London, all the stuff. That would be great to see. But yeah, the campaign episode 1 is live. We're going to go through a few clips today as well, and it's really great to see the way there. It's just, honestly, the production quality is just fantastic. Gives you a great insight into the minds of the players, and it's targeted pretty well for people who aren't necessarily interested in Call of Duty. So I think the targeting and the advertising and the marketing potential of this content has started right off on the right foot here, and this is great stuff to see for the prospects of the league. Yes, the league is starting very, very soon. We kind of wish we had some of this stuff a little bit earlier. I think I finally saw on Reddit there was a tab that came up when you loaded up Modern Warfare to say the Call of Duty League is just around the corner. I think it said you'd get some COD points if you signed up for the email list or something like that. Pretty classic, but still a step in the right direction, and I think really some more positive news to discuss today. It's been pretty negative, to be honest, on the whole over the last couple of months, but in general, I know a lot of people, we like to complain and we like to hope things will be better than they are, and I definitely think that's valid, and constructive criticism is always worthwhile. But when good things do happen, it's worth taking a second to think about that. So a couple of stories I wanted to go through just before we get into that, due to, related to amateur events. So this event was planned tomorrow, January the 11th, and a really unfortunate state of events. This guy NJ Rod, who I'm informed here has done a lot for the amateur community, unfortunately he had to undergo some emergency surgery. I really hope he's okay, because I haven't seen anything on his Twitter since he put this video out on the 8th of January. So I hope that all is well with him, but it seems like this event is unfortunately going to have to be refunded and postponed. But I guess there's there's something to follow on from that. We have this from AGN, and what's really quite interesting about this is, as you'll see in this official press release, if it's too small for you guys, I'll run through it right now. But after discussions with the Atlanta FaZe and Activision, we have reached an agreement to postpone AGN Atlanta to a time that does not interfere with nearby CDL events. So I imagine they had it planned around where the Atlanta event was, and the CDL and Activision have been like, you can't do that. You're not taking away any viewers from our mainstream. To some degree, I guess that's fair enough. Of course, remember last year, the CDL, the main league, if you're a pro player, you can't stream at the same time as the league is on. I think even Chino, he was like streaming the league games on his own channel, and then he was commenting over them, and I think either he had to stop doing that, or they came to him, and then he maybe fought back a little bit and was still able to do it. I'm not exactly sure how that concluded, but Activision likes all eyes to be on their product, which I guess makes sense, especially when they own all the rights to the game at the end of the day. But at the same time, I guess the players and the community makes the game as much as CDL and Activision and Infinity Ward do, you could argue. But anyway, so it seems like they're about to postpone this event. Really interesting that that's a possibility and a factor that tournament organizers are going to be considering, but they do have one coming up in Charlotte on February 9th, or the 7th to the 9th. And just while we're on the topic of amateur Call of Duty, if you guys are an amateur player, more passes have gone on sale now for the Minnesota launch weekend. So if you want to hurry up and secure your spot, the Call of Duty League Twitter account is where you guys should be heading to. So let's go on to this then, talking about what the Call of Duty League came out with. Of course, the Twitter media player is fantastic as always. This is a little teaser that they came out with yesterday, and of course the entire video has just premiered. So this teaser was fantastic. It gave a lot of insight. This is kind of the the spiciest stuff of the video, but Scump does go into a little bit more detail. So he talks about reuniting with Formal. He talks about in this clip, I'll just share with you guys in a second, that, you know, after the championship Sunday at Call of Duty World Championship, of course, this year, Scump thinks he himself played fantastically. The rest of his team let him down. And, you know, Dashi, I think, did relatively well. He had maybe a 0.9 on Sunday. The other guys maybe not so strong. And, of course, Crimsix, we know he didn't perform too well at that event. Scump follows up the statement he says with, you know, I'm fed up of getting yelled at, right? And pretty sure that is an indictment of Crimsix. I'll share the clip.
It began with the much anticipated reunion of Seth and his old OpTic teammate, Matt Piper, better known as Formal.
After we lost champs on Sunday, I was fuming. I played really, really well, and the rest of my team didn't. So instantly I was like, I'm done with this, and I'm done with getting yelled at every day. And I got back to the hotel, which was within walking distance of the event. Instantly DM Matt, I was like, yo, let's talk.
So following on from that, it kind of kicks off even further to a degree, and I'll just share a couple of other clips from the video where Scump is in the car, he's driving, and he talks about the Dallas Empire, and they apparently are the main rivals. The situation as it stands right now, supposedly, is that the Huntsmen are a pretty damn solid team. I think Priester came out with his rankings a couple of days ago. Maybe I'll just bring him up. So Priester reckoned this was the list. Thanks to Crone at CDL Intel for putting this together. But of course, you know, he's going to say the Atlanta FaZe are #1. A lot of people are saying the Atlanta FaZe may well be very, very close, if not the #1 team in the entire game, based on the way their team is being coordinated. Of course, they've got Crowder behind them now, super high-paced, cracked-out players. We thought this was going to be a very solid team. We'll have to see how it goes when they get to LAN, though, because these kind of players, in terms of play styles, tends to play better in an online environment than it does in a LAN environment. We'll have to see how it transfers, but still, a lot of confidence from myself behind this team. But of course, he's going to put FaZe #1 anyway. And then we've got the Dallas Empire and the Huntsmen. So a lot of people right now are considering these three the top 3 teams. Some people would say Empire #1, some people would say FaZe #1, some people would say Huntsmen #1. Not sure that the latter of the 3 is so valid, but of course, it's online Call of Duty, who really knows? But Scump talks about how the only team that they can't consistently beat is the Dallas Empire, and he talks a few things about them, because this is a team right now which isn't necessarily very well liked. I got a very interesting comment on yesterday's video talking about, is Crimsix the biggest villain in the scene right now? And I think it's pretty undisputable, to be honest, that it is. Typically, you'd talk about Aches, maybe. Way back in the day, you might talk about Parasite, and, you know, back in the Complexity days, Evil Geniuses, for example, you would have talked about Crimsix and Karma being right up there with Aches in terms of villains, because they were the team that was always dominating, or not necessarily dominating, but always beating OpTic Gaming when it mattered, which have always been the team with the biggest fan base. Now let's move over to the Chicago Huntsmen, and I imagine the Dallas Empire are going to be brutal rivals of the Chicago team, especially the way the situation went down on the OpTic Gaming team last year, and it doesn't really seem that Scump at all gets on very well with Crimsix, as I'll show in this clip.
We've been looking really good, though. We've been playing every team really, really close, really good. We've been beating pretty much everyone besides one team. Who's that? The Empire, but nobody likes them, so it's whatever. They're just, you know, cocky and like to talk a lot, but we just kind of keep our noses down to the grindstone, just keep gaming.
So yeah, we talked about the Dallas Empire being cocky, you know, they talk a lot, but at the end of the day, they've got to keep their heads down and keep grinding. That's a very interesting attribute, and of course, we've seen just yesterday, OpTic Gaming picking up Pac-Man. Of course, the Huntsmen have Cinder on the team. They've got coaches, they've got, I guess, level-headed guys on the team that can keep the team in check. However, you go over and look at Dallas Empire, and you're in a slightly different boat, given they've decided not to pick up, you know, a coach or anything of that form at all, which really does make things, it makes for an interesting precedent, right? Because you have a situation where some of the teams that may have issues with the mental side of the game can be kept in check by a Crowder, by maybe a Sender, by a Pac-Man, whoever that can keep these guys calm. Dallas Empire, Crimsix and Clayster have decided that's going to be their responsibility. They're going to take on the responsibility of kind of guiding Hukili and Shotzi to be, you know, the next generation of the best Call of Duty players. They don't think that there's going to be a coach that can come into the team and tell them anything they don't already know, or can help them in terms of the mental attribute. And maybe they're right. Like, Clay's what, 27? Crimsix is like 25 or something like that. So very, very experienced veteran players. Of course, multiple-time world champions between them, of course. Crimsix, the most achieved player of all time. Clayster coming off this incredibly hot run of United last season. But they have been fantastic at the start of the season. We've heard about this movement glitch that they've potentially been abusing, and we've talked about over the last couple of days. Maybe that has really contributed to their success. Maybe a lot of teams, including Scump on the Huntsmen, supposedly thinks that these guys are too cocky. You know, they're thinking they're better than they are, and when it comes to a LAN environment, they're going to get shown up. That's what a lot of people, I guess, are hoping, if you're a Huntsman fan, that the Empire aren't actually as good or won't be as good on LAN as they appear to be online. So clearly, Huntsmen may be having issues with that team, but then again, that video may have been recorded quite a while ago, to be honest. So, you know, who knows exactly what the situation is today. Supposedly, FaZe are significantly better now than they were then, but the Dallas Empire are definitely still up there. And I'm sure this is weighing on the Dallas Empire's minds. Crim and Clayster making sure they're not going over the top. Of course, very veteran players in their own right. I think it's interesting the way Scump kind of says all we need to do is keep our head down. He wasn't really eager to say that, you know, the Empire are better than us right now and we need to be working harder and looking at their strategies and their tendencies and all of that stuff. Maybe that's because he knew somehow that they were doing this glitch movement, I suppose, with the slide that we've talked about. But at the same time, maybe it's not the perfect attitude if you want to be the best team in the game. But we'll have to see. That's just a few thoughts on myself before we go on to the last couple of stories of the video. Just wanted to mention this real quick. The London Royal Ravens say that Nicky Romero is going to be performing at the London Home Series on February 8th. I'll definitely be there. I've got all the time booked off work and all that now, so definitely going to be here. If you guys are going to be there on the weekend, feel free, please join my Discord down in the description box below. Then if you guys join that, we're going to set up a channel, those who are attending, so we can all party up and have food together and do all the fun stuff that happens on these weekends, because CWL London last year was phenomenal. If this event is even 50% as good, it's highly worth attending. The points are going to be flying. Just one thing to mention real quick, it wasn't really enough to make an entire video on, but Taylor Keating, you guys may know him as the former manager of Crimsix. He did this really interesting tweet yesterday, which has since been deleted. He says, want to make sure the Dallas Empire doesn't win a tournament this year, ? Just say the word and send me a DM. Supposedly, he's trying to say, you know, back in the day, he was all supportive of OpTic Gaming when Clayster was on it, biggest OpTic fan of the world, or Crimsix, sorry. He was Crimsix's manager. Not 100% sure what he did to get the responsibility in that position. There was some talk on Reddit about it, but really what he implies here is that there's something really behind the scenes that would really expose, I imagine, Crimsix, given that he has that relationship with Crimsix. Maybe he knows something that most of the community don't. At the end of the day, he may just be doing this for attention, but I thought it was interesting to say. Apparently, he reckons that if you DM him and get the info, you could expose Dallas Empire and prevent them winning a tournament by potentially getting Crimsix banned or whatever he's trying to suggest with this one. Yeah, so the comment on Reddit is really interesting. Hinty knows something about Crim. You know, Crim effectively fired him. I think there was some contract situation with H4X, and Crimsix was signing some stuff, and apparently the dealership went maybe through Keating, and it didn't work out for the best, and Keating got the boot effectively. Maybe there's some degree of revenge going on there in his mind, but who knows? Be interested to hear your thoughts in the comment section below as always. So like if you guys enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, I would greatly appreciate it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.